You're showing up, you're consistent, you're present, you're posting, emailing, sharing stories, nurturing your audience, and doing all the things you were told would lead to more sales. And yet the income still feels unpredictable. Some months are good, some months are quiet, and it feels like everything depends on how much energy you personally have to give that week. In the last 2 episodes, we talked about the new era of selling and why trust converts more than pressure ever could. Today, we're taking the next step, because trust alone isn't the finish line, and presence alone is not a sales strategy. In this episode, I'm breaking down why being visible and connected is only half of the equation, and what actually turns that presence into consistent, reliable sales without requiring more from you. You're listening to the From Scratch podcast, the podcast for bold entrepreneurs who are done with cookie cutter advice, done with burnout, and done with building businesses that don't actually feel good. I'm your host, Kary, a near $1 million course creator, brand strategist, and business coach for women who are ready to do it differently. 7 years ago, I hit a level of success and still ended up crying on the bathroom floor. So trust me when I say starting from scratch isn't about starting over. It's about taking your power back and rebuilding on your own terms. Every week, you'll get unfiltered stories, bold strategies, and the mindset shifts you need to build with soul, sell with strategy, and grow something that feels like you. So let's get into it. If you listened to week 1 of this series, you know that selling in 2026 isn't about hustle, pressure, or being louder. It's about clarity, connection, and emotional intelligence. And in week 2, we talked about the trust funnel, how buyers move through safety, familiarity, and certainty long before they ever reach a sales page. But here's where a lot of people get stuck. They build trust, they build connection, they build relationship, and then nothing happens. Not because the audience isn't interested, but because there's no system carrying that trust forward. A few years ago, I decided to finally get serious about my health. Not in an all or nothing way, just consistently better. At first, I relied completely on motivation. I worked out when I felt inspired, I ate well when I had the energy, and it worked for a while. But the moment life got busy, motivation disappeared. Travel, stress, holidays, kids, everything knocked me off track, not because I didn't care, but because nothing was set up to support me when I wasn't actively thinking about it. Everything changed when I stopped relying on motivation and built simple systems instead. Grocery delivery with defaults, standing workout times, pre-decided meals for each week. Suddenly, progress didn't depend on how I felt that day. The structure carried me when my energy and motivation didn't. And that's exactly what happens in business when you rely on presence alone instead of your infrastructure. So today I want to show you why presence without infrastructure eventually breaks down, and 3 shifts you need to build something that supports both you and your audience without you having to be on all the time. Shift number 1, going from always showing up to building something that works even when you're not on. Here's something no one tells you early on. Presence works until it doesn't. Being visible builds connection. Being consistent builds familiarity. Being human builds trust. But presence is manual. It requires your energy, your time, your emotional availability, and your constant decision making. And at a certain point, your business stops growing because you reach the ceiling of what your presence alone can carry. I experienced this firsthand. There was a season where my business was built almost entirely on me showing up live, being in stories, responding to DMs, and riding the momentum in real time. People loved it. Engagement was high. Trust was strong, but revenue was fragile. If I slowed down, sales slowed down. If I stepped back, momentum dropped. If life got busy, income felt shaky. The issue wasn't connection. The issue was dependency. The business depended on me being on to move people forward. And that's when I realized something important. A business that only sells when you're present isn't scalable. It's exhausting. So here's your move. Look at the last month of your sales and ask yourself, did these sales happen because I showed up live or because something in my business guided people forward without me? If the answer is mostly me, you've found your bottleneck. Shift number 2, from trust that lives in the moment to trust that carries people forward without you. This is where systems come in, and not in the cold, corporate, robotic way people often imagine. A sales system doesn't replace your presence, it extends it. A real system takes the trust you've already built and gives it direction. It answers the questions your audience is silently asking when you're not there. What do I do next? Is this really for me? Can I trust myself to follow through? Is now the right time? In my business, everything shifted when I stopped relying on real-time selling and started designing designing intentional pathways. My content wasn't just inspiring, it pointed somewhere. My emails weren't just nurturing, they moved people forward. My offers weren't just available, they were positioned as the natural next step. And suddenly, sales started happening between my moments of presence, while I was resting, while I wasn't launching, while I wasn't actively selling. That's what continuity does. It removes friction for your audience and pressure from you. Because here's the truth, people don't stall because they don't want to buy. They stall because they don't know what comes next. So here's your move. Map the path from your most common entry point to your paid offer and ask yourself, what happens after someone finds me? What happens after they trust me? And what happens after they're interested? If there's a gap anywhere in that journey, that's where your system needs to be built. Shift number 3, from sales that depend on your energy to sales that happen because the path is built. This is the shift that changes everything. When sales rely on effort, they fluctuate. When sales rely on infrastructure, they stabilize. Infrastructure is what turns your ideas into assets, your content into entry points, and your expertise into something that works even when you're not actively selling. In my own business, building a repeatable sales system changed my relationship with work completely. I stopped bracing for the next month. I stopped feeling like I had to be everywhere at once. I stopped tying my income to my capacity. Instead, I had something running in the background, consistently, quietly, effectively. And that's where harmony begins. Not because you're doing less, but because the right things are doing more. A sales system is compassionate. It respects your energy. It respects your audience's pace. And it creates results without urgency, pressure, or burnout. So here's your move. Choose one place in your business where effort is doing too much of the work, whether that's content, launches, DMs, or sales calls. Then ask yourself, what could I systemize here so this doesn't depend on me every time? That question alone will unlock your next level of growth. Being present will always matter. Connection will always matter. Trust will always matter. But if you want consistency in sales, real consistency, you need a system that carries all of that forward for you. In the next phase of this series, we're going to start pulling back the curtain on what it actually looks like to build that kind of system. One that supports your life, your energy, and your income at the same time. Because selling well in this new era isn't about doing more. It's about building what lasts. And that's where everything changes. If this episode stirred something in you, if you can feel the old way of selling no longer fits, and you know you're ready to build something calmer, smarter, sustainable, and more profitable, I want you to know what's coming next. Next month, I'm opening the doors to my Sales from Scratch Spring Cohort. For 3 months, we'll work together to build your 6-figure evergreen sales funnel from the ground up. Not a patchwork system, not another half-finished funnel, a complete, soul-aligned sales engine that works even when you're offline. Inside the cohort, you'll get live coaching and support with me so you're never building alone. Done for you emails, websites, templates so you're not starting from scratch. Clear strategy for your messaging, offers, funnel flow, automation, and the structure to actually implement, not just learn. This is for coaches, course creators, and service providers who are done chasing launches, done relying on hustle, and ready to build a system that supports their life instead of consuming it. Doors open next month, and spots will be limited. If you want to be the first to know when enrollment opens and get early access details, go to the link in the description and join the waitlist now. This is where soulful selling becomes scalable and where your sales finally stop depending on you being on all the time. Let's do this together.